What do you think is the absolute most important piece of gear that would actually make you a better photographer? I would argue that piece of gear is a 100 to 400 millimeter lens. Hey guys, my name is Dan Ballard, pro travel, landscape, and commercial photographer. I've been doing this a long time, and if there's anything that I've bought that has truly changed my photography, actually made me a better photographer, allowed me to create better images, I think it's a 100 to 400 millimeter lens. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about why I think that is. Why is this a game changer? Why is this so important? Fairly obvious, I think, whenever it comes to certain types of photography, right? If you're talking about wildlife or something like that, everybody shoots with these long focal length lenses. It makes sense. You have small subjects, you want to zoom in on them, you need a long focal length lens. Where I think this is a little bit less obvious is for things like landscape photography, action photography, travel photography. That's where so often people end up using a medium focal length lens, or in the case of landscape photography, so often the wide or the ultra wide lens is sort of considered kind of the go-to, the most important lens you can have. For so many situations, though, I would really argue that having that extra focal length, even with these other types of photography, just is the most important thing that you can have as far as being able to get something unique, being able to get something original, being able to actually tell a different story than you would normally be able to tell with those normal focal length lenses, with the typical lenses that you would generally use for those different types of photography. For me, I use this 100 to 400 absolutely all the time. And honestly, so many of my favorite photos were taken with this lens. Whether that's Western photography, whether it's serious landscape photography, whether that's commercial product photography. I just did a big shoot for Ford, and on that project, I used this lens a ton. I've shot for affordable parts, and I use this lens a lot. Just pretty much regardless of the type of photography that I'm doing, this lens is kind of one of my just go-to pieces of equipment that, again, just completely changes how well I'm able to actually create better photographs. In the landscape world, it allows you to just zoom in and just get so close. And it's just such a great all-around lens for that sort of thing. So why the 100 to 400 in particular? Well, first of all, I will say I'm really talking about this general range. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a 100 to 400. If it's a 150 to 500 or something, that potentially could be just as solid. But for me, I really love this 100 to 400 because it's just so versatile. Being at 100, that's really nice. I mean, yeah, sure, that's a fairly long focal length, but it's not absurd. It's not too far out there. There's a lot of situations where 100 is fine. And it works really well with things like a 24 to 70. In my case, I have a 28 to 70 f2. I also have the 20 to 70, and that 20 to 70 f4 is such a great versatile all-around lens. So the 100 to 400 just really pairs well with that. Yeah, sure, you have that, missing focal length from 70 to 100, but that's generally not a big deal. So you have a really versatile focal length at 100, and then being able to go to 400 is so nice. And again, that's where I feel like this is really so important. I was looking through some of my photos, I'm looking at focal lengths, and the number of times that I was past 200 really is just it's staggering. It's all the time. So yeah, a 7200, that's a great lens. It's a really versatile focal length as well. But the number of times that I want to be past 200, again, it's just nonstop. It's all the time. And not only do I want to be past 200, I want to be past 400 all the time as well. And again, another reason this works so well is because I can do things like with my Sonys especially, I hit one button, I've got mine set to my C3 button, and I go to crop mode. And then, yeah, sure, I'm cropping in, but with my Sony A7R5 and even with my A1 II, I still have a lot of resolution. So I'm able to go to crop mode and go out to, to 600 millimeters. And I strongly prefer that to cropping afterwards. It changes where you choose to focus, it changes how you set up your composition, it changes your exposure that you choose. So I really strongly prefer to just, crop in camera basically. So basically I'm at 600, which I'm doing that all the time. Also, you can get something like a 1.4 or a 2x teleconverter, and it turns this into, again, a much longer lens. You can use those two things together as well, where you have a 1.4 teleconverter plus you're going to crop mode. So we can just get some really super long focal lengths out of this lens. So then we're talking about that very reasonable 100 all the way to 600 or 800 or something like that. And it's still really pretty solid quality wise. So it just becomes this very versatile lens that again allows us to zoom in. So much of what I talk about, I teach a lot of workshops, and so much of what I talk about with my students and so many of the classes that I teach are based around the concept of fill the frame with interest. I think this is just a key concept. Fill the frame with interest. And one of the best ways to do that is to zoom in, is to go tighter, is to eliminate all these other things and just really tell the viewer, show the viewer exactly what you want to show them, and just eliminate things that aren't as important, that aren't helping to tell that story. So again, these telephoto lenses, going to those long focal lengths, that's a really effective way to do that. One thing interesting coming up, to tell you guys, to show you just how valuable or how important I think this type of focal length lens is, I'm getting ready to go on a bikepacking trip to Oman. It's a 5-week bikepacking trip. We're going to be riding through the mountains, hundreds and hundreds of miles. Every bit of weight matters. Every ounce adds up. And this is a very, very heavy lens. And I'm still almost definitely going to take it. I haven't decided for sure, but I'm just about 95% sure right now that I'm going to take it because it's just so valuable, and I just can't hardly stand the idea of leaving it behind. Again, whenever I'm thinking about actually being able to make better pictures, something that I could take that's going to truly change the quality of work that I'm able to come back home with, I don't think anything is as important as taking this lens. It will truly change how effective I am as far as getting great photos on this trip. So I think it's worth the wait. Now, I know there's Sony rumors that are talking about Sony coming out with a new version of this, or maybe two new versions, a 100 to 400 that's an f4. That's going to be better for, things that move, which I would love to have that lens. Also a variable aperture, similar to this one, an f4.5 to 5.6 or something like that, that supposedly is going to be much lighter. So both of those lenses are just going to be very compelling. I'm going to want both of them for sure for different things. For my biking trip coming up, of course, having that lighter weight version would be incredible. Fortunately, I don't think it's going to be out before I leave. But even right now, even though this lens is really heavy, I think it's 1,300, 1,400 grams, something like that. Even though it's really, really heavy, I still think I'm gonna just have to bring it because it's that big of a game changer. So yeah, if you can possibly swing this budget wise, if this is something that you think that you can include in your kit somehow, cannot recommend it enough. I just think that it's so much fun, and again, it will truly change your shooting and truly actually make you get better pictures. And yeah, you could say that with things like, different camera bodies or whatever. I love my Sony A1 II. It definitely affects the shots that I'm able to get with, especially for high speed stuff. My Sony A7R5 for landscapes. Yeah, there's absolutely important things there. And having flip screens and in-body stabilization and better dynamic range. All this stuff really matters and it really adds up. But as far as just being able to see just an absolutely incredible difference going on a trip with one, piece of gear versus another, I would put this lens over any other lens you could buy and over any camera that you could buy, or just any other piece of gear that you could possibly buy to truly change your photography. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this helps. Please leave a comment below if you've got different opinions on this, or I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or if you have a 100 or 400 and agree, please share that. Give me a like and subscribe. Hoping to do a lot more videos like this coming up. Thanks a lot.